Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Fran, I'm from Venezuela, and today we're going to be reacting to a video called Australia versus Canada, country comparison. I don't really know much about Canada. I know that they are usually, or at least the stereotype is that there's some pretty nice people, pretty friendly. The Canadians I've known have that's been the case. They're pretty nice, very friendly. But also like Australians are also like pretty chill, apparently. So let's check it out, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. So let's hit play.
Australia, Canada. Two gigantic countries with low populations, incredible living standards, and friendly, welcoming people.
Okay, so like right from the bat, it's true they're both pretty big countries. Not a lot of people, scarcely populated, although the territory is quite big, and also friendly. So apparently they have more things in common, and like very countries that are, I think, pretty like with I don't know, like good to live. They have like pretty good economies. They're nice places to live in, and people want to like move there. So from the get-go, it's they're quite similar.
Welcome back to the Geography Bible. I'm Sam, your narrator for the video. In this video, we'll be comparing two countries which are actually quite similar, but geographically are
See, like they're quite similar actually. So let's find out if there's any differences.
Near each other. Then once you've watched the video and dropped a like, of course, we will.
Of course, climate. I forgot to mention. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of things about climate because obviously Australia is in the opposite side of the world from Canada. And it's pretty warm. There are a lot of beaches. Very. I don't know if it's humid, but there's a lot of beaches, so it's hot. And Canada is like the complete opposite. Canadian winters are no joke. It's very, very, very cold, and like the landscape is just very different. I think it has a lot of like mountains. A lot of the architecture is quite like old, vintage, like very nice. But Australia, I think it's very different. It's probably a little bit more modern. And, like I mentioned, it's more like beachy towns, although not all Australia is like that, but, generally, and it's quite flat. I think it's a difference, I think.
We'll then ask you which one you'd rather live in and which one you would rather just visit, and why. We will compare their demographics, geography,
it looks very,
economy.
Canada, I think, is very like metropolitan. I think that's probably the word. And Canada and Australia is more. Although obviously it has cities, I think it's a little bit more, maybe not a metropolitan town. More, just like a regular town, city town.
Quality of life, and of course we'll throw in some interesting facts along the way.
Yeah, a lot of woods in Canada.
By looking at their key demographics, starting off with their populations. So out of the two, Canada is more populated with around 37.7 million people.
I have to say, yeah, I mean, a lot of 37 million people, it's a lot, obviously. But but it's also like a pretty big country. Like I'm looking at the statistics, and it has the same amount of inhabitants as Poland and Morocco, which are like, well, sort of sandwiched in the middle. But Canada, it's gigantic, and if you compare it with those two other countries, Poland and Morocco, they're quite smaller in comparison. So Canada is also, it's telling me like Canada is like half of it is just land, barren land, nobody lives there. I don't know, maybe because it's actually like quite cold. I don't know. But I think Australia is quite similar, but I think Australia is bigger, is actually even bigger. And that's why it's so sparsely like populated. It's so big, but nobody lives there. So you actually have to travel like a lot of like long distances in order to go like from town to town. So I'm guessing Canada, it's probably the same. But it's curious to see like Canada, it's so big that I'm surprised that it has such a low amount of people living there. Like, more people should live there, more people should move there.
Making them the 39th most populous nation on Earth, behind Poland and above Morocco. Fun fact, there are more people living in Greater Tokyo than there are in the entirety of Canada. Think about
See, that's insane to me. Like like there's the same amount of people that live in Japan, in Tokyo, like just in the capital, and that amount of people, it's the same that lives in the whole country of Canada. That's like my mind cannot comprehend that. Because like either Tokyo is extremely, that I know it is, like it's very crowded. I know that, like living spaces are very small because a lot of people live there. But seeing them like side to side, it's insane. Like, oh my god, people should move out of Tokyo and move to Canada.
About that, a city in the world has a higher population than the second
More
biggest
people, yeah.
country
It's
on
not
Earth.
it's not the same. It's actually like even more. So more people live in Tokyo than live in the whole country of Canada. I think maybe Canada is just like a lot of woods, and like half of it is just like woods and trees and no people. That's it.
Planet.
That's the
Wow.
conclusion I'm coming to. I'm coming to from this.
Australia is the 55th most populated country in the
See, okay, so Australia is even less people. It's fewer actually. You have North Korea. I mean that's crazy. Like 25 million people. That's just so little. And I think Australia, I think it's bigger. So, it's crazy. Australia is actually also like, I think half the country is not like nobody lives there. It's just, nature.
world, with roughly 25.5 million people, putting them above Niger and below North Korea. Now that we know their populations, let's look at their population densities. This one is incredibly close and mind-blowing. So with 3.92 people per kilometre squared, Canada is technically more densely populated, making them the 8th lowest densely populated country in the world.
Yeah, it's like nobody lives there, but like so Australia is less densely populated. I think that's what it is going.
Then we have
from.
Australia with 3 people per kilometre squared,
Oh,
making
it's
them
the
the
other way around.
5th lowest densely populated country in the world.
Australia like is the most like nobody lives there.
Again, this next one is unbelievably close. Their life expectancy at birth. So Australia just takes the win here at just under 84 years, followed by Canada at just under 83. This means
They're
that
quite
Australia
similar.
has the 8th highest life expectancy in the world, and Canada is in 16th place. But are you ready for another crazy fact which actually counteracts the previous information? Which country in the world do you think has the highest cancer rates? I'll give you a clue. It's a country with lots of sun and generally quite a pale skin population. It is, of course, Australia. And then in 11th place, Canada. And finally, for demographics, let's look at the average age of the population. Now, a younger population is generally a better thing. This means a younger workforce and less of an aging population to hinder the economy and healthcare system.
I don't know, like from how like the cutout is for young people. I'm guessing people under 60, 65, although I'm not sure how they measure it.
So Australia wins this one with an average age of 38.
Oh, okay, so I think it's even, well, but this is median age, but I don't know the cutoff. So yeah, 38 and 42, like it's even younger than I thought. But again, this is a median, so the cutoff is maybe around 60.
8
For young
compared
people.
to Canada's 42.4. All right, let's now move on to their geography.
But
starting
overall, like very
off
young.
with their total land area. This section should be interesting because they are both gigantic. Being the second biggest country on Earth, only behind Russia, Canada has a staggering just under
Why did I thought like Canada? I thought India was bigger or Brazil. I didn't know that Canada was the second largest country after Russia. Yeah, I'm surprised. Why did I thought that it was something else? But that's pretty big. And if compared with like, well, its neighbor, United States, it's even like in comparison, it's like, oh my god, like seriously, like it's bigger than the U.S. and like North America as a subcontinent or a continent, depending on how you wanna separate it. It's gigantic, and the fact that there's only like 3 countries in North America, it's mind blowing. Seriously,
9.1 million kilometers squared total land area.
it's so big.
Compared to Australia's 7.7 million, which makes them the 6th biggest country in the world.
Like,
While
it's still
Australia
huge.
is an island, it is considered a continent, but it technically is the biggest island on Earth. For a visual
Yeah, it's true. technically it's a continent, but it's an island.
Comparison of these two countries, let's hop over to the truesizeof.com, where we can see the true size of these countries side by side.
I've always like those websites that show you like the actual size of things. It's always like it's seriously like you have to check it out if you haven't, because it's insane. Like it makes you like all your maps that you've seen like your whole life from when you're at school. It's like, oh my god, like this is crazy. Like I've been lied to my whole life, because they show you like the actual size. Because all maps are like measured to scale, so you don't really get to see like the actual size unless that you actually like take a look at how big something is, in kilometers or miles or whatever. But this sort of like maps that show you like the true size of countries, it's like, oh my god, this is crazy. It's insane.
It is difficult to
and you understand, obviously, like they can't really do maps like normal maps that they show you, or just like normal maps. They can't really do this because it wouldn't fit. So obviously, it's all fit to scale. But it's crazy. It's like it changes your whole like view of the world.
Present our 3-dimensional world on a 2-dimensional map. So this website allows us to see how big each country actually is in relation to each
Look
other.
at that.
So by grabbing
It's
both
crazy.
of these countries and putting them on the equator, we can see their actual sizes side by side. So yes, Canada is obviously massive, but its proportions are incorrectly displayed on a traditional map. Let's now take a look at what
everything isn't correctly like displayed, but you understand why they do it.
percentage of these countries' landmass is covered in forests, and also how much coastline they have.
Oh, see, because Australia also has a lot of forests. It's true, but I think it's more flat and with like bigger coastlines. And Canada, I think, is just more woods than coast. Although they obviously also have coasts.
With 60.
But because Australia is an island, so obviously it's going to have more coastline.
18.2%, 39% of which is in Queensland, of the country being covered in forest. Australia has significantly less than Canada at 34%. So more than a third of Canada's total size is actually forests. Canada
It's
actually
just
has
woods.
the third most forest by area in the world.
Oh, but I love
Australia
that. I
has
love the fact
sixth.
that it's just like I love forests, I love trees. So this is like that's actually very nice.
Okay, so before we reveal this one, out of the two, which one do you think has the most coastline? This country also has the most coastline out of any country on Earth.
I'm
so
guessing
if you said
Australia.
Australia, you're wrong, unfortunately.
Oh,
so
okay.
202,000 kilometers. Canada has by far the most.
Oh, okay. So I was wrong. Even because it's an island, even if it's an island. Oh, I think you know why? It's probably because Canada is just bigger. So because it's bigger, it's gonna have like a bigger coastline. It doesn't matter if it's not an island, because the sheer comparison in size, it's just gonna be bigger.
Coastline in the world, followed by Australia, which is in 7th place with a measly 25.7
Measly,
kilometers.
sure.
Now, to my surprise, Norway actually has the second most coastline in the world. Alright, so let's move on to the economy and some
Okay, that's
financial
crazy.
statistics for these two countries. Again, this is another one which is neck and neck. The resemblance for these two countries is uncanny. So let's begin by looking at their total GDP. The GDP can be calculated by adding up all of the money spent by consumers, businesses, and government in a given period. So with 1.3 trillion US dollars, Australia has the 13th biggest economy
That's
in the
a
world,
lot.
which is actually very impressive considering their
Yeah.
population is only 25.5
Yeah,
million.
they have
This
like
puts them
little who's working there because it's very efficient. Like they have little people, well, not little, but there's fewer people working there, but they still manage to like have such a huge economy. Like that's quite impressive.
above Spain and below South Korea. Then, with 1.65 trillion, Canada is the 10th biggest economy in the world, behind Italy and above Russia. However, Canada's economy is actually growing faster at just over 3%, and Australia just under
okay.
2%. Now that we know their GDP, we can calculate their GDP per capita by dividing their total GDP by their population. Australia actually takes the win here, with around 55,000 US dollars per person, compared to Canada's 46,200. So the personal wealth of the average Aussie is around $9,000 more than the average Canadian. However, Australia is the 16th most expensive.
I mean, yeah, sure. It's more, yes, but I don't think it's like actually like that much more. But he's gonna say something interesting, I
country
think.
to live in the world, compared to Canada, which is in
It's cheaper.
24th place.
Yeah. So that obviously takes into account that obviously that people earn more, but it's also more expensive. So, again, in Canada, maybe you'll earn less, but you're going to spend less too. So,
So this probably
It's a balance.
balances the two nations out. And to end the economy section, let's have a look at some quick fire statistics. Both of these countries have identical education expenditures at
It's the same.
5.3%. Inflation is higher in Australia at 2% compared to Canada's
With the
1.6%.
1.5, it's not
Canada
that
has
much.
the 8th most billionaires in the world with 44, compared to 31 in Australia, which puts them in 12th place. And finally,
Okay.
let's end this section by looking at the Big Mac Index. No, seriously, this is a genuine thing. So buying a Big Mac in Canada will burn a bigger hole in
Oh, okay, yeah, the Big Mac index. I think it's how much it costs, and I think it's supposed to be a measure of like how, because obviously because you have like McDonald's is all over the world, so it's gonna supposed to show you like how expensive a country is. I think that's the point of the Big Mac's index. I think.
in your pocket compared to the land down under at $5.29 and $4.98 respectively. And to
See,
end
you know, it's actually cheaper in Australia, but I don't know if that's Australian dollars or if they're using or Canadian dollars or they're. I'm guessing they're doing the equivalent in US dollars.
video, let's finish off with some quality of life statistics and facts. An area
Oh,
which
that's
both of
beautiful.
these countries excel in my opinion. When I think of Canada and Australia, I think of high wages, good education, and great living standards in general. Of course, they are both not perfect, and they do, of course, have poverty in certain areas. Let's start off by looking at a not so great statistic for these two countries, to which they are neck and neck, their obesity rates.
Why is there a pizza?
They pretty much have the same percentage
Oh,
of the adult
obesity.
population classed as obese, at a roughly 29%. This comes to no surprise as both of these countries indulge in a 21st century Western diet, and Aussies sure
Okay,
do
yeah,
love
sure.
their meat, beer, and barbecues. Australia has more physicians and
Barbies.
hospital beds per 1,000 people, with 3.8 and 3.59 respectively. When it comes to school life expectancy, Australia is ranked as the number one in the world. The school life expectancy, or the SLE, is the total number of years of schooling, this is primary to tertiary, that a child can expect to receive. So with a staggering 23 years, Australia
that's-
takes the win here. Canada
It's-
sits
and
in
it's
equal
by a
7th
lot.
place, with many other countries at 17 years, which is still very impressive. Australia just misses out on the top 10 happiest countries in the world in 12th place, which coincidentally
I have to say, like the happiness thing, I've never really understood because I don't know. I think they're probably like asking people. I don't know how they measure like a happiness index, but it's really weird because I've met people that have been in Finland. And they're like, I don't understand how this can be like the happiest country on earth. Because people don't really, I don't know, people don't really seem that happy, or at least that was the perception of the people that I've met that have gone there. But maybe they just, if you're not from there, if you're not Finnish, maybe you're gonna think different. But it's weird. And how do they measure that? Like, it's so random like that. Because also, like, not to get off philosophical, but I think happiness is something so personal and that varies person to person that it's hard, you know, like how do you measure a happiness scale? I think this is a scam. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. Like, it's weird to me. And if it is just like as you ask people, like ask all the countries like inhabitants, are you happy? Like, it doesn't really matter. You know, they're not gonna like measure in something. They're just gonna ask you like, are you happy? And people are also gonna be like, I don't know, like happiness is like, it's a state of mind, but it's an emotion too. So it's not gonna, I mean, am I happy right now at this moment, at this particular second? Well, yeah, maybe, but maybe something else is gonna happen in 2 hours. It's gonna ruin my night. But then maybe again in the morning, I'm gonna be like, no, actually I'm happy again. I don't know. It's weird. I think happiness it's a very like it's a concept that it's not like, I don't know, set in stone. It varies. I don't know. It's weird. It's
It
weird.
sits behind Canada in 11th place. When it comes to the Global Peace Index, Canada ranks as the 6th most peaceful country on earth compared to Australia.
People are
in
even
13th
chiller.
place. However, when it comes to corruption, Australia does make the top 10 compared to Canada, who are in 16th place. And finally, the last one, let's compare their military strength ranking. And to no surprise, these two countries are neck and neck again, with Australia
They're
having
very
been
similar.
19th.
Like, this is showing me like there's a lot of, they're neck to neck in so many things that are also, they're very similar in a lot of like aspects.
strongest military in the world compared to Canada, who are in 21st place. So now it's your turn. Let us know in the comments below, which one you would live in and which one you would just visit and why. We can't wait to read your comments. And while you're there, let us know which cities or countries we should do next. Personally, I would live in Australia because I'm a summer baby who loves the ocean, and I'd visit Canada for sure.
It's because
it's
it's
another
cooler,
dream destination for me that I hope to visit soon. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something new, a like would be much appreciated. And if you love this sort of content, consider dropping it. So
it's actually like Australia is so pretty.
Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, but Canada is also like very pretty. That was it for today. I'll see you next time. Bye.